All right, so this video is going to be on one viewer, as they have 3 questions, and I'm sure I'm gonna talk forever. All right, so do you ruminate? And if yes, what's your tactics to find your way out of it? Are you more of a day or night person? I like the nights because I can think better and all is quiet. Daily life seems so far away at night. Also, I like stargazing. How early do you reveal these INFP conditions to a girl you like? I mean, some people like my pure INFP persona, but some feel deterred, I think. So perhaps it would be best to appear normal on the first dates. But my intuition tells me to do exactly the opposite. Anyways, looking forward to your Q&A. Yeah, I would say I definitely ruminate. And rumination is just, a lot of it is associated with negative stuff. You're constantly thinking about negative things and you're just constantly in your head. And I think generally rumination is something that plagues INFPs, just because how we're built with our framework and whatnot. But yeah, I kind of look at rumination as, I do use it as a very knowledgeable tool where I don't look at it as just solely some negative type action. Because generally with me, I'm very interested in really understanding situations and experiences I have on a very deep level, and that comes with processing a lot of those negative thoughts and positive thoughts, just to kind of run around the gamut of how this all vibes with me, and also is it going to be something I want to utilize going forward in the future. So when I do spend a lot of time in my head, like constantly, I mean throughout the day I'll constantly go in and out of my head, but when I have those processing times of just really trying to understand the whole week or the whole day or whatever it is I need for that time, I'm going to see that time is a very valuable experience, because a lot of those emotions and things that I might think up and conjure up, that my mind plops hundreds of different thought patterns in my head regarding a certain one situation, and depending on how big it is, obviously you got to go kind of plop through each little point that your brain comes up with and kind of think it out. And so that kind of processing experience, opposed to just someone who lives in the moment constantly, it's not a bad thing to live in the moment by any means, and it's kind of said that people should live in the moment way more than they should live in the past or future. So I understand that point, but generally, no, I am experiencing each moment, but I'm also processing it extremely mentally, to where 2 hours later in the day, if I'm having an experience with somebody, I might be living in the past or future in my head. So I'm not really engaging with that person, which takes me away from in the moment type situations, which is not always a good thing. But at the same time, like I was saying, processing all that information is not, in my opinion, any lost time or associated with a negative trait, because a lot of people don't think about things. They don't think about experiences. They take it for face value, and it is what it is. Okay, we had this experience, it was a bad experience, moving on. But I want to understand why it was a bad experience. Why did this happen? And so when I have all that knowledge in my head mentally, it helps me to go into the future with being able to ruminate or process a lot shorter amount of time, because that first experience that I was exposed to, whatever it is, it might take me a couple days to kind of get through it all and understand it. But when I go down the line and I have a similar type experience, I'm able to go right up there in my head, and where all my stuff is chaotically organized up there, I can go pick and choose. Oh yeah, I had this processing experience 2 years back. And then I grab that off the shelf, and I am able to then ruminate or process it a lot quicker, which helps me move on to then be in the moment type experiences more quicker, I guess. So yeah, I wouldn't say I have a technique for necessarily getting out of it, because again, it's something I want to be in, but I think it just makes future experiences a lot faster to get through, and then you can move through life, and keep getting things done and whatnot. So second question on there, definitely a night person. I've always been a night person. I am not a morning person by any means. I do have to get up super early a lot for work and just, different early morning hours and things like that, just depending on where I go. But always been a night person since I was young. And I do agree with you where it is kind of, there's less excitement. There's more time to just chill and relax and just really have time to yourself to think without all the crazy lights and all the people running around, all the cars going by. It's just a lot quieter. It does kind of limit the exposure to all that fast-paced world, because everything just kind of slows down and gets quiet. And that's a lot of times that's what we need, is to have that time to be able to think. And in this this day and age, especially during the daytime, you got so much activity going off on all kinds of different levels that it's not a society built for a lot of thinking time. So nighttime, everyone's kind of usually split apart from each other unless you're going out to bars and clubs and things like that. But yeah, no, it is a time to reflect and just relax. And I think INFPs in general kind of tend to like that slower paced speed. And not saying we can't be chaotic and all kind of crazy at times, but I do believe that there is a place in our world for that need for the nighttime. And I personally don't like stargaze a whole lot. I know I need to get out more in nature and kind of slow myself down. I mean, the work life I'm in is very fast paced, and just my lifestyle has kind of molded to that, to where I am more of a fast paced type structure going on. But I know for me that I do need to get back in touch with more of that quiet stuff, and that's just where my stress levels will naturally go down. And so that's just something I'm trying to work on to get that better balance for myself and my preferences as an INFP. So how long should we wait before we reveal our INFP isms to people we are interested in? So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, because I know for me, I can get intense. If I'm going through life, just kind of having little interactions here and there, I can mask myself and just mold to them and just kind of, be a chameleon within society and whatnot. But if I find and stumble upon someone randomly that I totally fit in with and vibe, and I'm just, all the signs are popping off, that this person fits into my value system, and I'm so intrigued and this and that, I can become very intense, because that's a lot of me just knowing who I am, myself personally. These people, they don't know, that person I'm interested in has no idea who I really am. But I'm so in tune with myself and what I'm looking for, that my excitement, because something clicked on all these levels inside of me, telling me that, hey, give her all you got. It can be very intense, like I said, and that is a deterrent. I agree, especially depending on what type you're interacting with, which you're probably not going to know that early into a relationship or whatever. But there's a lot of types that aren't that great with their own emotions, thus they can't always understand just emotional spectrum of things. So when you turn into super authentic, vulnerable, passionate, emotional energy type person, yes, I agree, that can be super deterrent. But that's the whole thing about it. It's I've done that a few times with obvious relations I've had, and you do kind of sense a step back from them, and it's just like, whoa, what are you doing there, buddy? So I agree. I mean, it's hard to answer this question, because you obviously want to find someone who just accepts you for who you are, you know what I mean? So there are people out there, true to belief here, it's like they are looking for someone with that attention motion and things like that will totally vibe with you and understand it. But generally, in my experience, that has become a factor in the relationship, where you do have to kind of dial it back in a sense going into it, or else for the fear of losing that relationship, I guess. And I will reconvene this on the other side of this tunnel. So yeah, for me, I'm not the best relationship-y advice type person, but I've never been married before, I think there is a level of me being stubborn and not wanting to, and again, it can go to the kind of experiences I've had with these people I've been in relationships with. Not that they're bad people or anything like that, but with me, I do not want to compromise. I don't want to compromise myself, I guess. I want to, and obviously a relationship is combining two lives into one. I get that. But if it comes to a situation like that where I'm just kind of giving all my stuff and realize that it's not warranted with everything deeply I'm sharing with this person, and just want them to know everything about me and just want to share that really deep level, when I feel from that other person that I got to kind of pull it back and then not be myself, then that's when I just kind of feel like I'm losing my sense of self, and I don't want to give that part up. So I always have hopes, not writing off marriage and not writing off, future relationships or whatever. But I also just feel that when you find that understanding person who really vibes with that side of you, and that, there's a uniqueness to that intensity, that I feel is somewhat rare in this world, then I think at that point it's not so much of a question on should I, let him know that I am this crazy little emotional INFP dude, because I think at that time it just becomes more of a natural thing where you're allowed to be you and be your playful self and weird, awkward, whatever your shade of INFP tends to cater to. That's kind of the goal with it all, and not so much just hiding who you really are in the beginning, but maybe dialing it back a smidge. But if you're forced to really take a huge bulk of the INFP in you away and all that stuff, I would say I would recommend moving on from that relationship, unless you're okay with giving up the sense of who you are. And again, us being ran by our values and everything else, that's something that when you do have to give that stuff up, you can be in a more stressed out state kind of thing. Yay, finally home. Next stop, Chicago, where so many of your people are at. It's not okay. All right, guys, enjoy whatever day I post this, your weekend or day or whatever it is. All right, see ya.